Hi, this is CW, and this is my wife, Jamie. And we are for Color Girls Who Lead. And this is our first video that's going to go up on the website. And we've had this discussion a couple of times, especially like me driving her to work, about saying no. And I guess why it's so hard and why it's a must for leaders. So my thing is that I think like saying no stems from definitely when we're like children, and like we always teach, people always teach children to share. And like if you don't share the toy and you're the kid that says no, you're kind of like the like asshole child. Or if like you say no to someone like giving you a hug, then it's like, especially I know with like Black parents, we'd be like, oh, you're gonna give them a hug, like you're not gonna say no to them, because then it's like bad manners, especially if it's someone that's like older than the parent is.
Right.
So like, what do you think it is like for you about saying no?
Well, for me, I feel like saying no, it stems from past experience as a child. I was molested, so it kind of made me passive. And it was hard saying no because I was scared of conflict or what the person may do. And it didn't necessarily have to be the situation sexual, perhaps. It could have been anything, like whatever. Can you clean my shoes or whatever? And I would still say yes, even if I didn't feel like it, just to avoid the conflict.
A shoe cleaner?
I'm just saying, it could have been anything. But lately, I have been working on that, and although sometimes I have felt uncomfortable with saying no, I still did it because I still said no, because I knew the end result would make me feel good in the end. So I'm kind of glad of some of my progress. It's a work in progress, so it is what it
is. I just remember one experience, like we first started going out, and we went to DSW, and you asked me to buy you a pair of shoes, or a pair of boots. And you like threw a tantrum in the store. What I call a tantrum, you're probably just like, I was angry. And I was like, no, because in my head, I'm like, why would I waste my money? Like back then I was working at like freaking Five Below. So it's like, why would I waste my money buying you a pair of boots?
But look, this is the crazy part. I had the money in my pocket. And I had just literally bought myself a pair of shoes. So it was like no reason why I asked her to buy me the shoes. Actually, I was just testing her to see what she really do it. And when she didn't, I was like, she a sucker. And that was just it.
How about a sucker for saying no? That would have been a sucker for saying yes.
No, I mean like you stingy. Like, sucker, stingy.
And like in saying no, I always feel like there's like joy in the saying of no, because it's kind of like, I don't know, especially when you've thought about it and you can finally come to that resolution. Because like for me, I go back and forth in my head like so many times, like weighing all the options. I'm gonna call all these people and be like, so what do you think I should do? And at the end of the day, you're not gonna follow whatever the people say. You're gonna do whatever you thought you were gonna do. But I always find when I like do something like meditate or something and it tells me no, and I've always, if I do the opposite thing and do like the yes, like just like working at I won't say the name of the job, but the job I just left, just like working there, where I was like, okay, should I stay for another year?
Right.
And like everything in me said no, but my mouth said yes. And I suffered for a whole year in like really depression because I said yes when all of me wanted to say no.
Right. You have to be comfortable with saying no. You do.
But I think getting comfortable with saying no is to kind of understand that you don't have to please other people. Sometimes no is just like the bottom line of what has to happen.
Right.
But it's like, I think in saying yes to whatever it is that the people are asking for, like, you are just looking to please the person, whoever it is.
Right.
Like, whether someone asks to borrow money, and like, 'cause there's always a saying like, don't let anyone borrow money that you can't afford not to get back.
Right.
But there's always an instance where you've like lent someone like your last $20. You didn't have $20 more. You didn't have any more money, so you lent the person the $20, and of course you call them back for the $20. They like, oh, I got you next week. You call them next week. Who's this? You're like, you owe me $20. They're like, I think you have the wrong number.
I remember that happened. I lent somebody almost $100 a couple years back, and they promised to give it back around the time they get paid. And I literally had to chase them down for something they owed me, and it was my last. And I think it was supposed to go to a bill, but because I was being nice and didn't want to say no,
I told her to say no.
I had really suffered behind that. And I learned my lesson.
But I always feel like I'm on your like sounding board, and even when I tell you to say no, you always end up saying yes.
Like, I'm just going to do it because they need it or something's wrong. I always have, yeah.
And then you always regret it, and then you're like, oh, why did I say yes? And I was just like, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. I think a couple tips for being a leader, like my biggest thing is saying no without an explanation, because I don't think everything always needs an explanation, especially if you're like, your reason, but you don't have to necessarily tell the person. Like, I know you like to a lot of times give a reason for your no, but for me, like, I don't think there's always a reason. Like, if I don't want to give you $20, like, I don't have to tell you why I don't want to give you $20. I just don't want to give you $20.
Now that I do say no, I do often say why. But
and I think another thing, especially for so often, especially for Black women and Latina women, and we're often looked at as like really aggressive. But I think there's a fine line between being aggressive and assertive. So I think for your no, you need to be assertive. And sometimes we can't. We want to, kind of, I guess, care what people think, but not really. Because it's like, a lot of people, no matter what we do, like, we're going to come off as, Black woman, like, because we said no to something from another person. So it's like, we have to be comfortable with moving around that and kind of through that. Right. I would have to say, because it's like a lot of times the no comes with being guilty and feeling like a bad person, but you aren't a bad person just because you want to say. And it's also getting outside of your comfort zone and saying no, because that's like, I feel like one of the biggest steps to becoming a leader is kind of stepping outside of that comfort zone. So if you're the person, like, you can't always say yes to everything. So if you're the person that says yes to everything, like, if something doesn't sit right with you and the first thought that you had is to say no, then that's probably the answer that you need to say is no. Like, a lot of times we like to talk ourselves into doing things because we want to please someone else. Right. But use your assertiveness and no, that's it.
You have to be clear. You have to be clear in your no.
But I think when you're saying be clear, it's like be clear in yourself. Right. Because if we say you don't have to explain yourself, then you just have to be clear with yourself why you're saying no. Because I think that's part of getting comfortable with saying no, is like clear within yourself. Like, I already know why I'm not going to pick you up in my car, but I don't need to tell you. But I feel good about my decision of not picking you up.
Right now that we gave you a few tips on how to feel comfortable in saying no, we would like for you to sit with that and think about how that can work for you as a leader, on being comfortable in saying no. Let's get comfortable, guys, in saying our no.